Boeing just did something nobody saw coming. They revived a ghost. A project everyone assumed was dead and buried, shelved years ago and forgotten. But at the Dubai Air Show, something changed. Emirates, the world's largest international airline, didn't just place an order. They triggered something. And now Boeing is quietly studying an aircraft so ambitious, so massive, that if it actually gets built, it would become the largest twin-engine passenger jet in history. They're calling it the Boeing 777-10. Here's what that means. Take the already enormous 777-9, the biggest member of Boeing's next-generation 777X family, and stretch it by another 16 feet. That puts the total length at 268 feet, longer than a football field. A twin-engine beast capable of carrying around 470 passengers, maybe more depending on how the cabin is configured. This would essentially be a modern super jumbo, rivaling the capacity of the Airbus A380, but with just 2 engines instead of 4, and here's the part that makes this whole thing strange. The 777-10 isn't some fresh idea Boeing cooked up last month. This concept has been around since the 2010s. Boeing studied it back then, established that it was technically feasible from an engineering standpoint, and then, nothing. The project went dormant. Boeing moved on to certifying the 777-9, the 777-8, and the freighter variant, all of which have faced massive delays and remain uncertified nearly 6 years behind schedule. So why bring it back now? Why resurrect a dead aircraft in the middle of Boeing's worst quality crisis in decades? One word: Emirates. At the Dubai Air Show, Emirates placed a massive order for 65 additional 777-9 South, a deal worth $38 billion. But buried inside that announcement was the real story. Emirates didn't just buy planes, they formally agreed to back Boeing's feasibility study for the 777. They secured options in the program that could be converted to this stretched variant if it ever gets built. And Emirates chairman, Sheikh Ahmed bin Zayed Al Maktoum, made their intentions crystal clear. They fully support the study. They are very keen to purchase the aircraft if it's developed. This isn't casual interest. This is Emirates putting serious weight behind a project that doesn't technically exist yet. But here's where it gets complicated. Because making this aircraft actually work isn't just about stretching the fuselage and calling it a day. According to Justin Hale, Boeing's customer leader for the 777X, the biggest technical hurdle isn't about fitting the stretch or preventing the tail from scraping the runway during rotation. Boeing's electronic tail skid protection system can handle that. The real problem is takeoff performance. For a twin-engine aircraft, this massive certification rules demand rigorous testing around one specific nightmare scenario. What happens if one engine fails during takeoff? Can the aircraft still maintain directional control with only one engine running? Can it achieve the required climb rate? Can it clear obstacles and reach a safe altitude on just one engine? These aren't theoretical questions. These are life-or-death engineering problems that must be solved before any regulatory authority would ever certify a plane this size with only 2 engines. And that's just the beginning. Boeing's study will also examine structural weight penalties from the stretch, payload range trade-offs, and whether there's even enough market demand to justify building the thing. Darren Holst, Boeing's VP of Commercial Marketing, framed it as a careful balance between risk and versatility. The replacement market for aircraft seating over 350 passengers, including aging Airbus A380s and 777-300ERs, totals just over 1,000 aircraft worldwide. That's not a huge market, which explains Boeing's hesitation. But for Emirates, this isn't about market size. This is existential. Emirates operates the world's largest Airbus A380 fleet, and they're staring down a massive problem. Their super jumbo fleet won't last past 2041. After that, they're gone, and there's no dedicated replacement. The A380 allowed Emirates to pump enormous passenger capacity into slot-constrained airports, leveraging Dubai as a global connecting hub. Without something comparable, their entire network strategy collapses. They've begged Airbus for an A380neo. Airbus said no. They pushed for an A350 stretch. Airbus dismissed it. And now, finally, the 777-10 study has real momentum. This might be Emirates' last option. their only path forward. But this only matters once you see what happened next. Because at the exact same airshow where Emirates bet their future on Boeing, Airbus landed a series of deals that sent shockwaves through the entire aviation industry. And one of them broke a loyalty that had lasted over a decade. Fly Dubai, an airline that has operated an all-Boeing fleet since its launch in 2009, signed a memorandum of understanding for 150 Airbus A321neo aircraft. This was the first time Fly Dubai had ever ordered from Airbus for its narrow-body fleet. A complete strategic shift. A public rejection of bowing in their own backyard. And that wasn't all. Etihad Airways signed agreements for 16 Airbus wide-body aircraft, including 6 A332, 900 neos, 7 additional A350-1000s, and 3 A350 freighters. Air Europa stunned the industry with a deal for up to 40 Airbus A350-900 aircraft. One of the largest long-haul fleet renewals announced at the show. Airbus didn't just win orders. They walked away with momentum. And Boeing. Boeing secured that massive Emirates order for the 777-9. But here's the problem. The 777-9 still doesn't have certification from the Federal Aviation Administration. Boeing originally planned to deliver it in 2020. It's now 2025. The timeline has extended by over 5 years. And the 777-10, the aircraft Emirates is banking their future on, doesn't even exist yet. It's still just a study. This is where the story starts to get uncomfortable because the Boeing-Airbus rivalry isn't new. It's been building for over 50 years. Airbus formed in 1970 as a European consortium designed to challenge Boeing's dominance. Boeing had ruled commercial aviation since the 1950s, with aircraft like the 707 and the 747. Airbus entered the market with the A300, the first twin-engine widebody. Initial sales were slow, but the breakthrough came in 1978 when Eastern Airlines ordered 23 A300s. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Airbus steadily gained ground. The company launched the A320 family in 1988, directly competing with Boeing's 737. The A320 introduced fly-by-wire technology to commercial aviation, a digital flight control system that gave pilots more precision and reduced weight. By 2003, Airbus delivered more aircraft than Boeing for the first time, a turning point full of spare parts. Boeing held advantages in wide-body aircraft for years. The 777 program, launched in 1995, became one of the most successful aircraft families ever built. The 747 remained the largest passenger aircraft until Airbus introduced the A380 in 2007. The A380 could carry 555 passengers in standard configuration. It was a statement, a symbol of Airbus ambition, but it never sold well. Production ended in 2021 after just 251 deliveries. Market dynamics shifted dramatically in the 2010s. Airbus launched the A350XWB program to compete with 787 Dreamliner and 777 the A350. Entered service in 2015, airlines loved its fuel efficiency and range. The A350-1000 variant can fly 8,700 nautical miles with a full passenger load, and then Boeing's world collapsed in 2018. 2 737 MAX aircraft crashed within 5 months. Lion Air Flight 610 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302.346 people killed. Investigators found flaws in the maneuvering characteristics augmentation system, a software feature designed to prevent stalls. The FAA grounded the entire 737 MAX fleet in March 2019. The grounding lasted 20 months. The crisis cost Boeing over $20 billion. Airlines canceled orders, deliveries were deferred. Trust evaporated. Airbus, the company increased A320neo family production rates. By 2021, Airbus held approximately 60% of the narrow-body market share. But it didn't stop there. Production quality issues compounded Boeing's problems. In January 2024, a door plug blew out on an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX-9 during flight. The FAA temporarily grounded 171 aircraft. Investigations revealed manufacturing defects and quality control failures across Boeing's production system. Boeing's reputation for engineering excellence, built over decades, suffered catastrophic damage. Today, Airbus holds a backlog of approximately 8,800 aircraft across all models. Boeing's backlog stands at roughly 5,600 planes. The A320neo family alone accounts for over 7,000 orders in Airbus's backlog. So here's where we are. Boeing is studying an aircraft that could save Emirates, an aircraft that might restore some credibility to Boeing's engineering capability, an aircraft that would challenge Airbus in a market segment they've largely abandoned since killing the A380, but it's just a study. Boeing hasn't committed to building the 777-10. They haven't announced a launch date. They haven't finalized the engineering. And the one airline that desperately needs this aircraft is betting their entire future. Network strategy on something that doesn't exist. Meanwhile, Airbus just stole one of Boeing's most loyal customers in the Middle East at the same air show. On the same week, the question isn't whether Boeing can build the 777-10. The engineering is feasible. They proved that years ago. The question is whether Boeing will, whether they can afford to, whether they can deliver it on time after years of delays and quality failures, and whether Emirates can afford to wait, because if